Check 1 2. Check 1 2.
Psalm 127:3. Children are a heritage from the Lord, offspring a reward from Him. This suggests children are a precious gift from God to be valued and cared for.
In the United States, a child admitted taken into DHHS, CPS, and so on custody. The reality is their picks are already selected, you just don't know it. Being perfect no longer matters. It's what the adopting families are looking for.
Who is it stealing the children, you ask?
From Caseworker to the White House, the buck stops at all levels, just not where it is supposed to be. The services your family needs. We, the people, have paid for to ensure your reunification. Title 4 says, reunify at all costs. United, we stand means nothing to us when it comes to family value. Children are being ripped away from their families. Parents are reverting to addictive behaviors to cover the pain. The trauma caused by child removal is just being recognized, and the results are atrocious. Termination of parental rights is not healthy for anyone, just profitable for the people enforcing the lie.
It's time Washington listens to the cries of our children, the wails of their mothers, and the rage growing in the fathers. These are our children. Keep your damn hands off them. We are coming to act on the behalf of the children God gave us to protect, and you kidnapped.
All right, welcome to CPS Victims Hunting Justice. I'm your host, CPS Punisher. It is Friday night, people. It's been a long week, but we're here. We're going to push it out through. We hope that you all have had a non-CPS infiltrated week. If you haven't, please, look us up. Go to abolishcps.com. Check out the things that we have there, the information that we have for you. Look at some of our reruns if you need to access information that we've talked about in the past or the people that we've seen. Using our stuff is a good resource if you're involved in these type of situations, to make sure a little bit of knowledge goes a long way. Had I known what was going on when my case hit, I would have been a hell of a lot better off. Just like I said, just that fact of knowing that CPS opening that door to them allows them to come in and have jurisdiction with you. If I'd have known long ago that you did not have to open your door for them and you could have told them to leave and come back with a warrant, I swear everything would have been so much different. It's just little knowledge like that makes a huge difference, and that's what we're here pushing. I'm here tonight with my co-host Melissa, and then I also got Herbert, the law enforcement guru, both of them which are in hiding, but we can hear them. How are we doing, guys?
Okay, how are you?
All right, we're doing
good. How are you doing?
Doing all right. Here it is. It's Friday night. I think, right? Yeah, it's Friday. It's Friday night. I was just saying, it's a little bit of information that goes a long way, right? Like little tips like don't open your door for these people. Don't let them in your house. Little things like that could make all the difference in the world in your case. And it's just like, man, if you could just get that education to just one person, to make that difference. I mean, how much of a difference would that have made in any of these situations that you've been involved in, Melissa?
Well, I mean, just knowing would have made such a difference. Yeah. My first case, my very first case when they were screwing with me, if I would have known even a tenth of what I know now, if I would have known as much as I have forgotten, right, I would have been heads and tails better. Right. I thought because I was buying a professor of law to come represent me, and he specialized in family law, that I was going to kick these middle of nowhere, mothers' rear ends, and we were going to hand them their ass. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, someone got handed their ass, but it definitely wasn't the department.
Right. That's the thing, is that you don't realize that when you go into these cases that you're not fighting them hand-to-hand combat in the legal venue. These people have all kinds of tricks up their sleeve. They're using things that you don't even know about, as far as law-wise or legal-wise or any of that stuff. They're using tactics that you've never heard of. You thought that you should be able to, that you can't, that you don't even know that's there. Like they're not doing anything legally correct. They're not using the law the way that the law says.
Follow the law. I'm like, you know what? I'm being a law-abiding citizen. Let me follow this law. Right. Yeah, screw the law. The only way you're going to win is by playing as dirty as they do.
Yes, no, and you know what? Our guest tonight, damn well she knows, if anything, that she knows all about this stuff. We got our friend Ashley here. Ashley, how are we?
Hey, how are you? Got a lot to, a big update for everyone.
Oh, good. What do you got?
So, this is actually just God, to be honest with you. I actually was being harassed by we have parishes in Louisiana, not counties. We're the only state, like that. So Livingston Parish Sheriff's Department came beating at my door, literally there was a huge storm that came, and we could hear them over the storm. It sounded like the whole task force was going to come into my house. Me and my babies were in my room, scared to death. I decided, that was on March 6th. I decided after that, they came twice that day. I didn't, of course, enter the door, to pack up and haul ass to Washington, D.C. to see if I could get a response from someone, because I have sent emails to senators and state reps and senators from other states, not just even our state. Like, I mean, I'm not, you have to realize that when you're dealing with things like this, you can't be so narrow-minded. I looked up even the Judiciary Commission, the Federal Judiciary Commission, the federal, the commission who oversees DCFS nationally, you know, on a Senate level. And so I was determined, like, I was going to go there and I was going to meet with somebody. So get there, drive all the way there, and didn't get to actually meet with anyone in person, which was, I was like, okay, God, I just took this huge trip for nothing. But it wasn't for nothing. I filed my federal lawsuit in federal court in Washington, D.C., and I don't have an attorney working with me, but I have a team of people that are working with me.
Oh, awesome.
And it's the fastest they've ever seen a federal lawsuit accepted. The soonest they'd ever seen a federal lawsuit accepted was 9 days. Mine was less than 24 hours.
Holy smokes.
Now,
what does that entail?
What's that?
What does that entail? Like, what does your lawsuit entail? Like, what do you?
Okay, so this is what's so important when you're dealing with, you know, child protective services. And this is really important about covering your ass, okay? Because a lot of people are like, well, I don't want to do that. I don't feel like that. I mean, that is not worth it. Yes, it is worth it, because when it comes to the courts are going to ask you what you did in order to invoke your rights, okay? We know that they're going to deny your rights. That's not the point. We want them to do that. We don't want them to do that, but in a nutshell, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
if they're going to, we know they're going to deny the rights, but we want it on record that they're denying the rights. That's a more appropriate way to say it, okay? But the only way to get it on appropriate record that they're going to deny the rights is if you go through the proper channels to do that. And so I filed multiple Office for Civil Rights complaints throughout my process. And when I did that, and I did not know this actually, and knowledge is power. But when you file a federal Office for Civil Rights complaint, it actually boots it to your state government. And it's governed under your attorney general. And so if anyone has beef with you under your state level, which of course my case is state corrupt, right? Because of my uncle. That's why none of the OCR reports, even back to when I lost my First Amendment right with my daughter, none of those OCR reports, it was like falling on deaf ears. They appointed us, just out of pacifying me back then, they appointed us an attorney for Peyton, but he got fired, right? So I have well over 17 or 18 OCR reports between the school district and then the DCFS case. And so, and then the unlawful arrest. All right. And so that's really waving in my favor. What I didn't know also is that when you file a federal lawsuit it's the United States Federal Claims Court, and that's called tort law. Tort law is money. That's civil law. Okay.
Right.
And so, they changed the defendant. It says Ashley Kellett versus the United States of America.
Wow. That's got to be something to see your name right attached to something like that.
It is so, you know, like, it validates so many things. I have cancer right now. They unlawfully terminated my Medicaid in the middle of me needing surgery and radiation. I'm praying to God that, like, I lived long enough to see this through.
We'll pray with you.
That I need surgery, and we're supposed to be evicted from our home on Monday.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But my God is so much bigger. And I know that, like, I trust him. So I waited. I actually mailed it on my daughter's birthday, and on March 20th. They received it on March 25th, and by March 26th, it was docketed and had a case number. And our judge is Judge Summers, and he used to be a civil rights attorney. That's who our judge is. He used to be a civil rights attorney. Which
that's good, right? That's kind of good in a way, right?
That is excellent. He has his history for civil rights. He actually did like this huge one. Trump actually appointed him as a Supreme Court justice. And I was because, you know, it's so important. I cannot emphasize this enough. It is so pivotal in your case to research every person that's involved. I have done all of my legwork, and it's exhausting. I mean, it is, but you're going to be exhausted anyway The question is, do you want to be exhausted with the armor or without the armor?
Right.
You want to be exhausted, with the weapon to defend yourself or not. And so, because if you know, especially if you know it's corrupt, okay, like,
right.
which we all know, CPS in general is corrupt, which blows my mind, because before I ever went through this, I would have never thought this. I can imagine you probably thought the same thing. Like, you just don't think that. Like, it's it's advertised as this salvation for children, like this sanctity, and that they're just really there to protect people, and it's all for money. Like, it's everything is about money, honey. It's nothing about anything else. So then I turned around once I got that into the federal courts. I was actually going to go down. I was on my way down to downtown Baton Rouge to go file the state federal lawsuit, because, and this is separate. It's two separate things. So you can actually file a federal lawsuit in your state that's separate than Washington, D.C. My whole goal for the first one, though, was to get it outside of Louisiana. That was very important. Okay.
Right.
The second lawsuit, though, when they flipped the defendant and turned the defendant into the United States, and the reason they did that is because I didn't just use a 1983 case. A 1983 civil case is very difficult to get accepted. It's a civil rights case, but here's what everyone needs to listen up loud and clear. Under the American Disability Act, and anyone who suffers from addiction, mental health problems, any of these people, as long as you're not in active addiction, that's the only kicker with the American Disability Act. But if you're in treatment, you're covered. Okay. If you're in a MAT program, you're covered. Okay. So that's called the ADA, the Rehabilitation Act, and the 504 Act. There is no immunity for state actors under the ADA and under 504 and under the rehabilitation. That includes your judge. I'm going to say that again. There's no immunity. Zero immunity. That's why I included that on the case. And so what helps me, though, is that I have a conversation with my state's attorney, an hour and a half long, where I'm telling him my entire case, and he tells me, I'm sorry, my hands are tied. There's nothing I can do. Oh, well, I'm glad I have it on audio recording.
Right.
So that benefits me that, like, all this time, I've been filing these OCR reports to know that's happening. So 2 days ago, I tried to jump the gun a little bit. When God tells you to stop, you just kind of have to do that. I was on my way to downtown Baton Rouge to file the lawsuit, and really just the Lord just said, just wait. I was like, okay. So I turned my car around, went back home, and the next day is when I realized the federal lawsuit was accepted. So about 2 days later, I was praying, and I'm like, God, I need immediate injunctive relief. Injunctive relief means that the difference is there's monetary, which is money relief, where they're going to give you money for the damages that they've done against you, versus injunctive relief, meaning they reverse everything that's happened. Injunctive relief means they come in and they reverse my Medicaid termination. Injunctive relief means they give you your children back. They reverse all the lower court's decisions. That is injunctive relief, and that's what you want. Okay. And so I also requested injunctive relief for those things too, but the federal court's going to take a lot longer to do all that. And also the defendant changed to the United States of America. Right. Because of the OCR, Office for Civil Rights. Okay. Because when they saw all the OCR complaints, now they're like, why the hell has this woman made all these OCR reports and no one has done anything? My First Amendment right was taken away. My baby was abused. And it's valid. It's not like I'm just saying it and blowing smoke. I have proof of everything, right? So 2 days ago, I went down to Baton Rouge, and I have 159 defendants. I filed my federal complaint on a state level. It's a state level, but it's a federal claim, if that makes sense. So it's two separate courts. It doesn't affect the federal claim in Washington, D.C., but it holds responsible the individual person that decided to operate in misconduct, right? So under a 1983 case, we have, and 1985, you have conspiracy, you have racketeering, you have embezzlement, fraud, failure to protect a child in foster care, which is very important. Like if your child's been abused in foster care, neglected in foster care, that all falls under a 1983 case, okay? When you file that, I promise you, butts are going to get moving. And if you think for a second Louisiana is going to allow any part of the evidence that I have to get out, because they know I record everything. Right. So and it's a lot of corruption. Okay, so, and if they do, I want a jury trial. I want it to come out. I that's what I want. That's my desire. I want a jury trial. I feel like that's fair, and that's what I requested. Each lawsuit is worth $100 million.
Oh wow, good for you.
So we'll see what happens.
Right.
I don't know. Like, I mean, I don't have control of that. Only God does. But it took me a year. It wouldn't take me like long to write up another lawsuit, but I had to study.
Right. It takes so long. People don't understand how long this, even if you hire an attorney, but then like people like us that are all doing this on our own and learning on our own, because you're not going to get an attorney or a lawyer or anybody that cares as much as you do. They're not going to put the time
in my case, I'm blackballed. Right.
Like I've been sitting here, I've been preaching the ADA stuff for the past year and a half. Like people, everybody is covered under this. Get them to come and support you. But no one's picking up that ball. Everyone's like, but now all of a sudden, like people are starting to realize, wait a minute, but like it's taken me over a year to get.
People don't, what people don't realize, Darren, is that people don't realize that you don't have to be disabled to be covered under the ADA. The fifth rule states that if a community or an entity in an agency has incapacitated you in a way, like ruined your reputation, made you be treated differently, viewed you differently, that qualifies you under the American Disability Act, even if you don't have a medical diagnosis.
Right. Like the fact they just, and I know just recently they actually came out and admitted that people that have had their kids taken by CPS are covered under the same as if your kid was kidnapped. You have the same mental, the same mental taxings that you do, like your kid was kidnapped. So they put you under that too. So people that are involved in CPS, go to your ADA and tell them, because you are crippled. You're crippled. Once they do this to you,
you are crippled. You're right.
You're done. You can't think about anything but your child. You can't think about anything where your child is. How they, I couldn't imagine. I'm fortunate because I do what I do, so I'm able to do this stuff all the time. But I couldn't imagine being at a full-time job somewhere, listening to someone else tell me what to do, and I'm trying to think about how can I get my kid out of.
Most people lose their jobs, though, Darren. Like you hit the nail on the head, though. The fact that you're telling me that you've been preaching this for 18 months, like, is so. Like that's so spot on that you have been telling people that, because and everyone needs to listen to him, because, and I'm a registered nurse. I'm a certified case manager. I'm telling you, like I've dealt with the American Disability Act. I have 3 disabled kids, so I've been dealing with the ADA for a while. Okay, but like Darren's right. Like, not just that. It's not just about being paralyzed with the fear. He's right, definitely right on that. My God, I just told my baby not even 10 minutes ago how one day she'll listen to an audio of mommy wailing on my bathroom floor. I was wailing because of the pain. It's like they're gone. They're dead. You're grieving your alive child, but it's like they're dead. Like because someone has.
It would be easier. It would be easier if your child had passed away, because you can grieve and you know where they are, whether they're in the urn or whether they're in the ground.
Oh yeah, and not to mention, every day you sit around and you wonder, what are they doing?
Yes.
Are they happy? Are they safe? Well, now I have kids that are in their 20s. Have they been sent off to fight? Are they even alive?
And that's
do I have grandkids? I mean, I know I have a grandkid by by my daughter, but it's just not knowing is way more painful than if they would have died in a car wreck or something.
Well, like my daughter couldn't tell me who abused her. She's disabled.
Right.
She couldn't. All I could do is see evidence of abuse on her, bruises and burns, and permanent damage to her right arm. The bone matrix in her arm is permanently damaged, and bruises on her pubis bone, and infections in her skin. I mean, and she's telling me, I call home right now, Mama. I call home right now, please. And she begging me, and then they turn around and go into court. And hearing them in court, knowing they never saw her one time, which is not illegal. She actually not deserved, by law, required her own attorney because of her disability. In addition to that, they never intervened. They left her in the home of an abuser and put her in the home of a felon who happened to be the neighbor of the screening counsel's mother of the disciplinary board in Louisiana for attorneys, which, I told you my uncle sits on the Louisiana bar, 7 different boards. Okay. To know all this is happening, but she has expressive aphasia, but the words she could find, she was begging me for help and pulling me into a car by my clothes, or would not let me, like taking my clothes and pulling me. And I can't help her knowing she's being abused.
Mm-hmm.
I cannot, nothing will ever remove that pain.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing. And there's so much that I don't know because she can't tell me.
Right.
So she's going to live with that for the rest of her life.
Right. She's got no way to express it, no way to say it out and get it out of her system, so that she lives in that fear. She'll live with that fears for the rest of her life.
Yes,
Scared of everything, and not be able to tell you why she's scared of you if you approach her fast, or if you go to grab her by her shoulder and she can't tell you that she's scared, Mom, because this, they grabbed me or whatever.
Darren, I can't go in the other room without her following me.
Right.
And she asked me, I because of the mass in my throat, I get into coughing spells really bad, and she'll say, "Are you okay, Mom? Are you okay, Mom? Are you sure? Are you sure? You're gonna be okay, Mom. You're gonna be okay, Mom." She's so I'm all she has, and so like to know that like my kids, like, I can go from one room to the other. She's right behind me. She has such bad separation anxiety now because of what was done to her. And the sad part is, these are supposed to be people that are supposed to be hired to protect our children.
Mm-hmm.
These people need to be, and here's my issue. And I don't know about your state, but in my state, there's the only law that there's in place. It says that if the report was falsified or fabricated, that charges can be brought, blah, 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 blah. I have yet to see anyone actually prosecuted over doing crooked shit in my state. And I know many people that have contacted me and told me the stuff that's happened. I mean, lawsuits that have occurred. So you explain to me why there isn't, they have the children's code in every state, right?
Yep.
Why is there not a parents code?
Well,
why are we not advocating for, because all these laws are to protect the social workers and the government. Why is there not laws in place to protect this kind of thing that's occurring right now? Because our ombudsman is the Children's Methodist foster care, blah, blah, blah. They received over $30 million from the state of Louisiana and the federal government for foster care. They're the ones who allegedly vetted this foster care mother. Now, who do you think they're going to side with? Now, here's the deal. I still filed my report. I knew that they wouldn't respond to the report, okay? But I still filed it. That speaks volumes because they can't legally be an ombudsman because they're not a third-party neutral. You cannot receive money from the state from foster care funds and be an ombudsman. That is not ethical in any way, shape, or form. But they just instituted our ombudsman this year, last year, excuse me, in 2023. And so I'm thinking, where are the laws to protect the parents? I'm just confused because
because they think that we're all guilty of these crimes that are committed. Like we're supposed to be committed. We're supposed to be, if they're going to try to terminate our rights, they're supposed to also charge us criminally with this.
Thank you.
They don't do it because they can't. There's no evidence against us.
This whole entire, here's the deal. Nothing is going to change until we march to Washington and demand it change because this is bullshit. I'm sorry, excuse my French, but that's legitimately what it is. How do you tell someone that they're guilty of a crime that you didn't, number one, you've omitted all relevant information. You didn't actually interview the detective who investigated the case. And that doesn't make any sense. No criminal charges were ever brought against us, ever. But I have a charge against me for passive sexual abuse, but that was never even in the report. How is that possible? There was no sexual abuse that happened. It wasn't even in the report. It was neglect. It was in the report.
I'd be happy if they accused me of a crime. They sit here and say, "Oh, there's no allegations. There's no crimes. There's no wrongdoings."
Oh, I was accused of pulling my son's ear. That's what it says. I find the judge put, because you pulled your son's ear because he was spanking his disabled sister. That's why. That's it. That's all it says. Because you pulled your son's ear. That's abusive. That's what it says on my paperwork. That
Speaking of your son, how's your other son doing?
I have no idea. They have him hidden.
So they're hiding him now. Beautiful. Yes. Which again is against the law, against their rules. As long as that's still your kid, you're supposed to know and have access to where they are, who they're with, the whole nine. They're supposed to stay within the county. This is my argument that I've been saying with what's going on with Melissa. Like, no, they cannot do what they're doing, but we are allowing them to get away with this. This is the thing. No one's fighting it. Maybe us three are fighting this stuff, but where's the other millions? We need you other millions of people to come out and see, because no one cares if it's just us three. Well, she'll shut us up. We won't get anywhere. We're not going to get anywhere.
I'm not going to shut up.
I know you won't. The three of us together, we're only a speck of what's on the spectrum, and we need more people to step forward.
It's called law. You have to change the law. You have to move the government to change the law. And the only way to do that is to bug the living shit out of them.
Right.
I have a question.
And I hope you don't end up like Nancy Schaefer.
I have a question.
Go ahead. Yes, sir.
My question is, when is a child released? What age? Is it 18 from CPS?
Well, my son is not under. My oldest son, well, actually, he's now of age. My oldest son, who was kidnapped by Adult Protective Services, he's disabled. He's cognitively 7 years old. Okay, that is after they opened an investigation into the state. My other son, who went in as a minor, and now is 18 years old. He's only cognitively about 10. He's also disabled. He went into some extended foster care, which actually by law, they shouldn't be collecting funds on because he lives with his grandparents. And if you read the federal law, they don't qualify for those services if they live with a relative. But the state's collecting the money on that. So until someone calls that out.
But yeah, typically it's 18, right? Or
it is.
Unless they have a disabled.
Okay, so typically it's 8. Yeah, okay. Now, the fact that it's 18, Melissa, I'm trying to understand. You said you have kids that are 20-something, and you can't see them.
Yeah, but after you're terminated and they're adopted out, you don't get a right to see them. You don't get a right to ever know where they're at again.
Right. So if they don't go looking for her, then she's never
unless they go looking for you.
Correct.
Right, but see, I've remarried and my last name ain't the same. Yeah, I have a Facebook with my maiden last name, but
do Ancestry.
I have.
If they spit in the cup and you spit in the cup, like she said, Ancestry will put you together.
They will.
Oh, I'm registered with Ancestry.com.
And there's another one, Melissa, called
the 23andMe.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's mostly for medical stuff.
Yeah.
No,
23andMe is like Ancestry.
Okay, what I'm trying to say is, if you do 23andMe and the other person does Ancestry, they won't make a connection.
Well, there's another. Okay, let me help you answer that question. There's an entity in between those two, actually, and I'll text you information on this, Melissa, that does actually connect those two. They use the same. They use the same. I don't know if you are familiar with this.
Are you talking about the Mormon? They're a Mormon-owned organization that all they do is ancestry research, and they actually combined all the DNA and stuff, and there's a whole big organization.
No, this is a scientific foundation. I don't know if they're Mormon or not, but this is scientific.
Yeah, I think we're talking about the same place.
Okay. It may be, but they communicate in the same way. But there should be a register. There's also a registry that you can register with online.
Right.
And just like they were adopted, like you said, they're adopted out. You can get on and you could register your name and your children's names.
Yep.
So that they can find you. There's a registry you can do.
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yes, there is. Yep. Like adopt for me or look for me or something like that. I just saw that the other day. You can put your names in.
Yeah, but first your kid's got to want to look for you. You got to remember, when your kid goes in the system, if they're old enough to understand what's going on around them, the state's going to go out of their way to make that kid hate you.
Right. No, it's the truth. My son now hates me. Both of them, because they've lied to them. She's right. They've manipulated my disabled sons. My disabled sons don't know right. They don't have ability in a regular atmosphere to understand fact from fiction. So now they've manipulated them into believing lies about me that are not true, and it's so confusing that I'm the only parent they've ever known. I'm the only parent that's never left them. I'm the only parent that's been in their life that's taking care of them. Before I was sick, I worked 3 jobs as a registered nurse. Like, I don't know how I did that. Full-time jobs. I don't know how in the heck I did that. I don't know when I slept. But I had to work to raise 6 kids. And so my children have been lied to so much and manipulated so much. The psychological damage is so exponential, which is what I put in my 525-page brief. You should have seen the way that lady looked at me when I came into the court. She went.
She looked like you was coming in with a novel.
She went, girl. She said, "Is that all of that?" She said, "Is this exhibits?" I said, "No, girl. That is my complaint."
Right.
I said, "That's not even all of it.
You get to the exhibit yet?
That's the condensed version." I said, "No, when I get to I'm going to Monday to submit the jump drive of all the audio recordings that I have, and they're going to be pissing in their pants because
are you going to transcribe them first?"
No, I'm not transcribing any of that. No, all you gotta do is do a jump drive. I don't have to transcribe any of that.
Okay, because I was going to say there's a website called REV.
Yeah, no, I'm not doing all that. I ain't got time for all that because...
Yeah, all you do is upload the stuff. It automatically transcribes it all for you, and it does a heck of a job.
Well, I don't have any money for it either. I mean, to be honest with you. But, I mean, not that it wouldn't be helpful, but I also want them to hear it. I want them to hear the conversation.
They lose the emotion if they are just reading it. Right?
Yeah. I want them to hear my baby wailing. I want them to hear my baby when she saw me and her daddy for the first time on audio recording. Mommy! Daddy! Like, they need to hear that. They need to hear when she was begging to come home. They need to hear when she was... They need to hear when see the video of her when she was hard. They put a 24-hour EKG monitor on her. My baby she has Down syndrome and autism. She's very smart. She's allergic to all adhesive, so it's one type. So her skin has something. She does something. Steven Johnson. It peels off in sheets. She has like a chemical burn. Okay. She said it hurt. I have a bobo, and so they zipped the Zoom. They cut the Zoom off. So when they redid the Zoom, like we waited 5 or 6 minutes, and you could tell they were trying to distract her. Peyton is so smart. She waited for about 5 minutes. She takes her shirt and she went right on up, and this huge, massive EK. And of course, I'm a cardiac nurse at that, but I'm a registered nurse. There's a huge monitor on her. I said, "What is on my baby's chest right now?"
Right.
First of all, that's a misappropriation of funds because Peyton's already had her 30-second EKG because that's how long it takes to do an EKG on Peyton. That is, you know how much that monitor costs? About $2,800. That monitor is used for people who have either misdiagnosed or undiagnosed rhythms, malformed rhythms of the heart. Okay, she has a congenital heart malformation. We already know Peyton's congenital heart defects.
Right.
Okay, it takes 30 seconds to do her stuff. Not they had the order was for 36 hours to have her on that. I pulled her Medicaid claims. They have not just that, they ordered the echocardiogram. She'd already had all this done. That the 24-hour monitor. I'm like, what dumbass ordered a 24/7 EKG monitor? Then they lied to me and told me it was to just establish care. No, they were trying to do surgery on Peyton. She had a tube in her ear that was lodged in her left ear that her neuro-otologist said, leave it there because she has a high chance of infection. Peyton has a rare condition called common variable immunodeficiency. Do you think they never consulted me on Peyton's medical care one time?
Against the rules, against the rules. They're supposed to have every bit of, you're supposed to be contacted for everything.
I nailed their asses in my brief. And you know what else is amazing is that there's a 50-page limit on the Washington, D.C. briefs. Like on your complaint, there's a 50-page limit. Okay. I submitted. Now, I narrowed it down as much as I could. I mean, when I tell you I squeezed every drop I could to 117 pages. If I would have gotten it any lower than that, you wouldn't have been able to understand what was happening. They accepted it. Like, I literally prayed over it. And I said, I'm like, God, like, please be over this. Like, I just need your hand to be on this because this is not me. This is you. Because with writing those kinds of cases, they're so specific. They usually boot them out. They usually kick them back.
Right.
But the fact that they accepted them right away was so telling. The team, the girl that I worked with, she's been doing it 20 years. She said, the soonest I've ever seen a case accepted is 9 days.
Wow.
She said, this is the fastest I've ever seen the Washington, D.C. Like, that's less than 24 hours. So I was like, you know what? That's just God. So I'm going to see what happens. And, if anyone needs, like anything like advice or direction or anything like that, feel free to message me. You can Ash Stan on Facebook.
What is it?
Ash, ASH, and then Stan, STAN. It's half my first name and half my maiden name.
Okay.
And they can use Messenger. They need help with anything. With writing civil rights lawsuits, those are very specific, and you don't want to get off in tangents too much. You want to be really concise, but you also want to support it with case law, which is really important. You need to support with your state law and federal law, not just one or the other. And because they'll tell you, you'll see a lot of them if you look them up online. It'll say that they were dismissed without prejudice, or with prejudice, which means that they can't come back. They can't ever file again. Meaning that, and it says because they failed to state a claim. And you as us who are not lawyers who read it, we're like, what do you mean they didn't state a claim? Looks like they stated the claim to me. No, there's a specific way you have to word a 1983 civil rights lawsuit. And so if you don't word it a certain way, they will kick that stuff right on out of the court. And so it's really important. It took me longer to probably research how to submit the civil rights lawsuit than it did to write it.
Right.
That was the most trying part of the whole thing. So just pray that God brings justice sooner than later because of this mass, and I need surgery and radiation. I have my Cash App on my TikTok.
What's your Cash App? Let me put it up there.
Okay. Hold on. I'm gonna have to look that up because I don't use that. Hold on. Let me look it up. My Cash App. My Cash App information is. Okay, Ashley, you can do it. Oh, it's a $. I'm sorry, my MS is getting to me. $, voice for the voiceless, but only one S at the end of voiceless. So it's VOICE for the voiceless, but there's only one S in voiceless. Voice for the voiceless with one S. Yes. All right. And there's a money sign in front of it, but I didn't do that. I don't know.
No, that's for the cash tag they call it.
Oh, okay. I'm like, I know I didn't do that. Okay.
So there we go.
I mean, I'm just trusting God at this point. I mean, I need like $4,000 by Monday. So they cut off all ability for everything. They froze Social Security. They cut off their waiver programs. They cut off, everything. They cut off, they accuse me of SNAP and waiver program fraud, which I'm completely innocent of, right. I can't even get food stamps. I can't even feed my children, I have food now, thankfully, but because I have a friend who blessed us with, groceries, but I'm at this point, I'm literally just living day to day and just trusting God. So,
yeah.
If I can help anyone, if I can help one person, then this is worth it. Yep. So, just let me know. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
No. Anytime you can be on here. Anytime you got something to say, you definitely can show on in here. That's for sure. This is just crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So, how many lawsuits total do you have in there?
I have 2.
You have 2? I have 2.
It's the first time I've ever sued anyone.
Right.
And then I couldn't find an attorney to represent me because I'm literally blackballed in Louisiana because of my uncle. He's a third circuit court of appeal judge, and those who are watching and don't know the story, be real quiet, baby. He raped me at the age of 5 years old and sexually assaulted me until I was nearly 10. And so when I reported him in July of 2022, all hell broke loose. And he's on the DCFS board, the Child Support Enforcement Board. His brother is the former governor. Assistant over Restore Louisiana, over the waterways and stuff like that. He's the former secretary of the Department of Transportation. His sister-in-law works for literally the 21st Judicial Court where all my stuff was filed. And then I didn't know this either, but the current governor, who was then the Attorney General, who I emailed the day before my children were taken and the week before, his address is listed on all of my judgments. No name, just an address stuck up under there, where he was being notified of everything that's happening with my case. I know, and remember, his office said we were advised not to investigate your case.
Right. They were advised not to do it because they were already doing it. So.
Well, he was presenting cases in front of my uncle. He was presenting the Catholic Diocese sexual abuse cases in front of my uncle at the Third Circuit. He should have recused himself.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that. And so the whole thing is very telling. And there's really, to be honest with you, the best thing they can do at this point is suck it up, buttercup.
Right.
You reap what you sow. And unfortunately, in my situation, I'm not moved by money. Do I need it? I do need it. But I want justice. If I wanted money, I would have taken the $20,000 my uncle offered me in a non-disclosure and been on my merry way. But I didn't do that. I wanted justice for the things that he did.
Yeah, there's a lot of your life. There's a lot of your life that's been ruined by all of these people that you'll never be able to get back.
I can't.
There's one thing we can't replace, and that's time. You know, time doesn't have a reversal on it. You know, that's it for all of us, without our kids, without our families.
Yes.
You know, with all the damages that have been done, that's worth. That's not. You can't. How do you even put a dollar amount on that? You don't.
That's why I put $100 million on there.
Yeah.
Because
put $1 billion. You know, anybody out there that's suing, put a gajillion on there, because you'll never be able to get back time.
But then, and now, like with my cancer diagnosis, this is recurrent cancer. So I've had this cancer before, and it was in the same place. They could not remove it all the first time, and they had to leave a portion of it because it was too close to my vocal cords. And so, I hate crying. I'm scared. You know, like my kids need me.
Yeah. No, they do. Well, anybody out there that can help her, please, you see how you can do it. Ashton on Facebook, and then her Cash App is right there. So, you know, do something like that. I'll put it on the website too. I'll put your information up on the
Thank you. I appreciate that so much. And Melissa, thank you. Like, if you need something, like, give me a holler too. Darren, if you need anything too, like, just let me know. You know, I couldn't upload your stuff either. I couldn't see your stuff that you like sent the tag on. Like, I don't know why.
Yeah, they do that. I'm telling you, they do that to me all the time. They do all kinds of things to us. I'll send stuff to people that work for some and don't for others, and that's them.
I believe that. I think they block certain IP addresses.
Yep.
I do that.
Heck, it's worse than that. Half the time, Darren will call me, and we could almost set a pocket watch every 5 minutes on the dot.
What?
The phone gets cut off.
Yep.
What?
Every 5 minutes. Like
seriously,
it's not even like 4 minutes and 30 seconds. It's 5 minutes on the nose. Bang.
Note it.
You know now just to shut up and just hang up and start over.
Hell, you remember that one night that it was every like 2.5 minutes?
Yep.
You need to,
because we argued that 5 minutes would be an upgrade.
But I'm saying, like, when things like that happen, you need to note the date and the time that it's occurring. So that because let me tell you something. The whole point of my case too was to get the FBI involved, the federal FBI, not the state FBI, because of course they're all under the government of the governor or whatever. But I'm talking about the federal.
Right.
I want an investigation. Like, that's what I asked for, was a prompt investigation into the things that were going on. And so, when things like that occur, if you have a date and a time, they can go right to your phone record. They can ping the tower, and they can find out from every government agency, because they can go in and they can do everything they need to do internally from those agencies and find out if they were doing something to inhibit that conversation. Stuff that you wouldn't necessarily be able to find out, but they can. But they would need a date and time, and you know what I'm saying? A date and time.
Yeah, but this is like every time we start talking about something good, some new case law, something important. Every time we start talking about something important,
write it down and get a notebook and put conversations with Darren cutoffs, and then just like, you know, and just jot it, like date and then the time that it's cut off, like, you know what I'm saying, like that way they can go in like and report it. Go to the FBI website.
I never thought of that, to be honest. That's a good call. I never even thought of that.
I mean,
good call.
So you want all the
they're not always the brightest crayons in the box, I'm telling you.
Right.
So
you went all the way out to Washington and didn't get anywhere with the DOJ?
I was so upset because I got there and my own senator, well, like one of my senators, Senator Kennedy, I'm like, I am here in Washington with a disabled child. I have cancer. I have multiple sclerosis. I have bilateral temporal lobe epilepsy. I have my other baby girl with me. I am a single mother. I'm so sorry. I'm so short of breath. I drove all the way here, like literally on a wing and a prayer. I said, I need help. And they tell me, you need to fax our Lafayette, Louisiana location. I was so appalled. I was like, what? I'm like, okay, I'm going to say that again. I am in Washington, D.C., all the way from Louisiana. If let me explain something. I am not easily intimidated from anyone. If you, I'm 5'10", I'm like a big 2 thumbs up, and I'm not going to give you those thumbs, but they're not these thumbs, okay?
Right.
To people, I'm just not intimidated. If I get intimidated about something to the point that I get in my vehicle because I'm that afraid to drive all the way to Washington, somebody should take note. This woman just, out of fear for the lives of her and herself, I was afraid for my life and the lives of my children because they nearly killed Peyton the first time, okay? They've caused so much trauma in Piper. That Piper, like they were showing, I had to withdraw Piper out of school because they kept showing up to Piper's school. They came, as soon as they have, wait for it, as soon as they found out I was back in town, on Friday, I did a TikTok on Thursday. On Friday, DCFS calls me from 3 parishes away because my parish won't touch me with a 10-foot pole now because they know I got their game, okay? 3 parishes away. Miss Kellett, yeah, we're outside your door. I said, well, you can stay outside my door because I want a telehealth visit with my kids. Swear to God. I said, and I'm not coming to the door, so you can turn your little butt around. And by the way, you're on my property and you're trespassing and you need to leave. That's called trespassing.
Unbelievable.
They will not leave. It's called harassment, and it's targeting, and it's bullying. But I have a feeling now that they're not probably going to do that, considering now that I've filed this federal lawsuit. So something that does move people in Louisiana is this. Money.
Right.
Unfortunately, this is the sad part. Those of us who are not moved by that, or just moved by, we're passionate about the things that we believe in, but the people who are corrupt, the reason they're corrupt is because of money. Right. It's nothing but money and corruption, right? If they would go through this extent to try to cover up all the crap that they have been doing, and clearly it's way more than I can imagine. Right. It's more than I even, and I have a lot of proof. I have a lot of proof just for my case. That doesn't include all the stuff they've done to other people. So I'm calling everybody from Louisiana to say, hey, time to file a class action lawsuit against DCFS as a whole and our government, because I want to know why me and another mom, we lost our civil rights from the school district, our same school district, by the way, the same school district, okay? And not one person did a thing. They charged her with 20 felony violations for wiretapping fraud because she put a jump drive in her child's wheelchair because they were and found that they were abusing her daughter. And DCFS refused to take the report against the teachers, right? And the sheriff refused to take the report. But guess what they did? They charged her with, we'll only put it down to 1 count of felony. Well, did you charge any other parent with felony wiretapping who has a cell phone, whose kid has a cell phone? No, they didn't. You want to know why? Because it's discrimination. Until people start getting pissed off because if they can do it to us, they can do it to anybody.
Right. They have no limits anymore. They're going after anybody that they can. So you're not protected. You're not safe. They're going after whoever the adopted families or whoever the money is on. That's what
they came after the one thing they knew that would move me. Yep. And that was my kids. Yep. They knew that. They knew that. They knew that I was not going to be moved by anything. They knew I had proof of everything. And my uncle knew that. Well, how did Judge Blair Edwards, the sister-in-law of the governor, know that Peyton had an immune system problem? When the investigator in the hearing said that she wasn't sure what was wrong with Peyton because they hadn't even gotten that far yet. But the judge knew, unless she spoke to someone in advance about Peyton. Well, the only other person that would know that would be my uncle and my nanny. Yep. No one else would know that about Peyton. Come on. She started arguing about Piper's medical diagnosis. How the hell did you know my kid's medical diagnoses? Right. This is the hearing. We were not allowed into 5 hearings, the first 5 hearings. Now I want everyone to understand that's a right to be heard, a right to question witnesses, a right to confront your accuser, a right to appropriate counsel, and denial of access to a courtroom. Those 5, I just listed 5 civil rights violations off the top of my head right there. That doesn't include your First Amendment right, your Fourth Amendment right, your 14th Amendment right, that have all been violated. Not to mention your 6th Amendment right? And your 5th. It amazes me that they just do it though. And it's like by a wing and a prayer, they just think they're just going to slide into home base and think, we're just going to hope that these people are too stupid to report anything.
Or
But
they break you down so much that you can't. You literally are just jammed into a corner, and you just can't physically do anymore. You're exhausted.
It's the truth. That is, you've hit that nail on the head. Like, I've been there. Like, you're right, Darren. They do make you feel like that, and they make you feel like that you're worthless. They make you feel like you are, that you have, like, you're disposable, and that your kids basically mean nothing. They never came to my home. One time after they removed my children,
Right.
Never came to my home. I passed. If you look at the report, my case plan was blank. My case plan was blank. They had no safety. They had no safety concerns. I was like, if you have no safety concerns,
what's the problem?
why don't I have my children?
Right.
Like, it was so dumb. I didn't sign anything with them, but like they had no safety concerns. Okay, they didn't follow their own policies. And let me tell you, I'm gonna say this, and I'll shut up. But pull your policies and procedures from your state, from your DCFS policies and procedures. That is where you beat them at their game. Okay, they never follow their own policies and procedures.
Right.
Whip that out and whip that into a judgment. It's really simple. Like, all you have to do is go line by line what happened and go, okay, removal. Go to their policy. If you're in Michigan, go to Michigan, CPS removal, and go to that. Then find your state statute for that. And then what do they not do that they were supposed to do according to the rules, procedures, policy, and the law? And then you get your federal law. Once you do that, you follow that, they don't have a leg to stand on. They don't.
And it's really easy to go through those lists and see that they've done
is.
all this to you. It's very simple. Every one of us have had lack of due process. They violated our rights up right through those. It's very easy. You just need to be able to pick yourself up, pick your head up, get out of your depression, get out of your own way, and start doing that and realize it's worth it.
Can I ask you a question, Darren? Do you know your case backwards and forwards?
Yep.
Okay. I already knew the answer. I already knew the answer. And Melissa, do you know your case backwards and forwards?
Of course I do.
Exactly. So the three of us know our cases backwards and forwards. I believe that with any parent who was wrongfully, which would, let's say, I would say 98% of parents have their children wrongfully removed. I think 2% of the time, maybe, children need to be placed in a different environment. Right. Beyond that, because the law is clear on that, you have to have reasonable effort to keep the child in the home with the parent. That is a federal law.
That's right. It's Title IV funding states that all through it. They are to stay at their home. If reunification is not the thing, the Title IV funding is supposed to be yanked immediately.
But they're lying. Right. They're lying.
Now, see, in my case, they filed relief of reasonable effort without even deeming the child dependent. But the judge refused to hear my case for a year, so they didn't even get to hear the relief of reasonable effort. But by his neglect of his duty to supervise my case and make sure everything is handled accordingly, no reunification could be met.
Did you go to court yet, Melissa?
Yeah, we kind of ticked off the court. We went there, we got all the paperwork laid out to move forward. And then one of our attorneys stood up and says, "Your Honor, I want to make oral argument for constitutional violation." Put on the brakes.
You can't.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. That's how you got to do it, because you they then postpone the hearing and they invite the Attorney General to join in, because in order to be able to appeal based on a constitutional violation.
Wait. Aren't you at a step? But you're already at a federal level, right?
No. This is a circuit judge, not the district judge, because he got de novoed, so he was booted off.
You're at a circuit level, and they're gonna hear. You're at a district court level, and they're gonna hear a civil rights violation.
Well, no. See, they don't hear it. They have to bring the state attorney general down to hear it.
Oh,
so it got adjourned for 30 days. But here's the nice thing about it is it's all arguments based off of due process violation.
That's good. That's good news, right?
Oh, that's huge news. And it's also right of association violation.
That's awesome.
You know,
That's
so
good
it's
news.
all kinds of it. And it's another one called detrimental reliance. Because they kept telling us
with your case too. Deliberate indifference.
Yeah, they kept telling us that we were following their laws. We were following their statutes. We had multiple government agencies telling us we're following every law. Okay? Because I actually talked to him today. He was preparing the brief of his complaint earlier today. And so through this, now, no matter what comes out of the next hearing, when we appeal, we get to make constitutional argument at the Civil Court of Appeals.
Praise the Lord. Okay,
Well,
that's good news. That's really good news.
Listen to me. Hear me out. And everybody that's watching this, listen to me. What they're talking about is they won't let you use the Constitution in district courts and things like that because that's the federal Constitution that they're following. However, what people are not doing and not remembering is that you do have a state constitution, and your state constitution runs parallel with the federal Constitution.
Bingo.
You can go into a district court and argue your state constitution and your rights.
We are arguing the state and federal both.
Hold up. Yeah. They have to listen to you at the district level if you argue your state constitution. They cannot deny you those rights because they too are in fact supposed to follow that state's constitution.
That's right. You're right, Darren.
Right. But Darren, they're hearing the federal Constitution too. They just have to serve notice to appear, notice to be party to the state attorney general, because they are the attorney for the state. Now, see, in Alabama, they have to serve them notice before they can hear it because we do not use the attorney general to represent the department. The department uses the Joe Blow attorney down on the corner.
Right.
Okay.
Really?
So we have to bring the correct person in to handle the case. But they're hearing federal and state constitution in front of the judge on the 18th. When we go there, no questions asked. We just have to, in our state, make a prior notice so that they can get the correct attorney to represent the state there.
That is
because the Joe Blow corner attorney may not know his constitution.
Well,
I know the last judge darn sure don't.
Melissa, you better bring your booster seat so you can have your baby.
Yep.
You're gonna get your baby back. You're gonna get your baby back.
All right, guys, we are way over. I'm sorry that we are.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize that either.
But Herbert, there you are. You got anything else you want to ask? You want to ask Ashley before we bounce out?
No, she covered a lot of things. I have no questions. My big question was, I knew there was a cutoff age with CPS, and Melissa explained to me, so I understand, because I figured once a child is 18, 19, they're free. They're free.
But if they're disabled, they can do something called extended care. And
that's a whole different category.
Yeah.
That's a whole
or if the department wants to lie and call them mentally disabled, even if they ain't. It's pretty much based on the age of majority for their state. In my state, it's 19. In Mississippi, it's 21. In the rest of the country, it's 8. Yeah. No. Age of majority, age of adulthood in Alabama is 19. It's 21 in Mississippi, and it's 18 in every other state in the United States.
But that's a really good question, though. That's a very good question, though, to ask that, because it is like my son will never really reach the age of majority because cognitively he'll never reach that. Do you know what I mean? But that's a really good question. Really good question.
Yeah, I just want to know so I can understand. You know?
Yeah. No.
Like how far are they willing to hold your son? Like, does that mean that they can hold him for the rest of his life?
Yeah, they can. I requested an emergency interdiction though at the federal level for both my boys. So.
Well, hopefully those work.
I praise.
Let me give you the unless you have a doctor, a neurologist, psychologist, psychiatrist, whatever, that can prove that he's okay. His 2 + 2 = 4. And if the doctor can prove that the 2 + 2 = 4, then they have to release him.
Yeah, but he's not cognitively, like, they're both disabled. Like, my one son has an anoxic brain injury. He has autism. He has he's legally blind in his right eye. He has no short-term memory. It's from birth. And then my other son has autism, dyslexia. He's got growth hormone deficiency. He's got global developmental delay. He's six or 7 years below the mean. He's probably around 8 or 9 years old cognitively as well. And so you cannot get, it would be like me telling my daughter with Down syndrome, case in point, would you go to a child with Down syndrome or an adult with Down syndrome for that matter and ask them to sign a legal document? No, you wouldn't, right?
Right.
Well, why? Because they're not cognitively able to do that. I actually asked the mental health guy over the mental health place that had my son. I said, so wait, let me get this straight. If he looked like he was disabled, you wouldn't get him to sign a legal document, but you had him sign a document saying he wouldn't speak to his mother. You had him sign a document saying he wouldn't speak to his family, which is not legal because he's cognitively. That document is null and void, buddy, because his IQ is 56.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't even have the ability to sign it. He doesn't have the ability to understand what he's signing.
Right.
Okay. They have him wearing dresses right now, calling himself Chloe. Okay. Which he used to watch a show called Miraculous with my little disabled daughter, and her name is Chloe, and she had alter egos. Okay. Matthew has no mental health diagnoses. He's never had mental health diagnoses. He's like the happiest kid ever, right? He got pissed off because I turned his internet off, but beyond that, no. And it's just to see this stuff happen though, and no one do anything about it, and no people are in place to this is what I want to tell everyone. There's only room for one whistleblower. I am a whistleblower for the state of Louisiana, but I'm talking about for my case. I want to know, is it worth their family? I want to know, is it worth, because what's going to happen is their children are going to end up in foster care, right? Because they're going to go to jail for what they've done.
Good.
The crimes for conspiracy under 1983 and 1985 is life in prison or death. When it comes to kidnapping, when it comes to injuring the infirmed, there is no other. Yes, I want an investigation, and yes, I want justice, not retaliation.
Right.
Justice, which is why I'm going through the proper channels for justice. Retaliation is what my uncle's done to me.
Mm-hmm.
There's a difference, not because I've been accused of the other. How can I'm not going to be retaliating against a man who has done so much against me, and look what he's done to our family. I've actually pursued justice, not the other way around. So if I could help anyone else, tread through the water, just let me know, because I'm not in this not to help someone. I walked through this for a reason, and so I don't, so I will do whatever I can to help others for sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you much, Ashley. Melissa, you got anything else to say?
No, I think we just about covered everything. I mean, if anything, if CPS comes knocking at your door, don't answer.
I'm not answering my door. They can.
All right, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night, guys.
Good night.
Good night.
Well, there it is. Ashley's update. Her kids, her federal case, all that. She's out there to help you guys. If you guys can help her in any way, please do so. She needs it. She's a good person. And don't forget, Melissa's show is on Monday. She'll be back with whoever she's got for a guest on Monday. It's at 6 o'clock Central Time, or 6 o'clock Eastern Time, 5 o'clock Central. You guys have a great weekend. Try to keep CPS out of your life. And I guess, like Melissa says, if they come knocking, don't answer the door. Ask them if they got a warrant. Keep them out of your house. Keep them out of something. Keep your kids safe. I'm CPS Punisher. I'm out of here.